Welcome in, Big Blue Nation, to another episode of the Cats Talk podcast. I'm your host, Cameron Johnston, joined as always by my co-host, Jacob Boyers. Jacob, the Mark Pope era, boy, it's in questions. If you're on X, it's not a good time to be on X if you're a Kentucky basketball fan, as Kentucky falls to North Carolina 67-64, and now Coach Pope's record against Power 4 teams 14-15 throughout his first two seasons at the University of Kentucky. Jacob, how are you feeling, man? I know it's not good, but what do you got for me?
No, not good. Not good whatsoever, Cam. Oh, man. This one's like even kind of tough to talk about. I mean, if you asked me, 3 weeks ago, if I ever envisioned three straight power non-conference losses, I would have laughed at you. I don't understand what went wrong from that Purdue preseason game to now, but it is not good and not ideal. And yeah, just an ugly game that, we're unfortunately going to have to dive into here.
Yeah, and you know what I was thinking, Jake? Matt Painter, after the game, said they did no scouting for that Kentucky team going into that game. I'm starting to believe that just a little bit more and a little bit more as we get further into the season. You?
Yeah, I mean, but like, I don't even know what you got to do to scout this team. I guess just, all right, well, let's just get into it. Because, yeah, not ideal. I mean, this team, the half-court offense is so broken. The effort at times is so broken. I mean, the entire game, it was just when Kentucky got into the half-court, North Carolina would rush them with two defenders, and we've acted like we've never seen a double team before, even though that's what Louisville did to us. Michigan State did it at times, and like we still just don't have an answer for it. I mean, this team just looks lost. They look like they all hate each other. They look like there's zero actual basketball chemistry. And the crazy thing is like, if you told me we got this kind of effort and game from Ortega beforehand, like I would have thought for sure we won. He was kind of the guy we kept saying had to flip that switch. And early on, at least, he was the only one really kind of playing with that intensity and effort. And it just didn't carry over. I mean, you went almost 11 minutes without making a field goal. I don't know for sure, but I would think, Cam, me and you and Tyler could go out there and find a way to luck into one basket, and we lucked into none.
Yeah, I genuinely don't understand. I mean, if I want to be the sunshine pumper for this team, I would say you went, what was it? I think exactly it was 10 minutes and 35 seconds between field goals, and you still lost to a top 25 North Carolina team by 3. Sure. Now, granted, all that being said, there's the sunshine you're going to get from me for the day. That's it, Jake. I hope you recorded it. I hope you got it, because that's all I got. A way in which that this team can go 10-plus minutes, you mentioned it, like 3 guys on a court who are recording a podcast about this. You give us 10, 15 shot attempts, something's going in.
I'll pull one from half court at some point and bank it in.
Something's going to go in. And the fact that, I mean, it was in the offense, at some point they were actually getting open looks during those and just missing shot after shot. I don't know what the answer is. I'd love to say that I think, all these different elaborate things can work. But you mentioned the half-court offense. There is no chemistry. There is nothing. I mean, there's nothing to build on. You shot 13 threes. I mean, what are we trying to do is another question.
I don't know.
You got games where you come out and shoot 30 threes. You have games where you come out and shoot 13. Like, at some point, I get we're searching to try and find what makes us the best version of ourselves. But you got to have an identity, something that you fall back onto, a scheme that you fall into. Like, we're obviously, right, this week we've been very football focused with Will Stein being hired. His identity, feed the studs. If you fall back on hard times, what are you going to do? You're going to feed the studs. Right now, we don't have anything to fall back on. We don't know what that next step is going to be for this team or what any step is going to be. Like right now, everything that you and I have been talking about coming into this game was, let's get Ortega to be Ortega. The Ortega from last year, that's all we need from him. We don't need him to be anything more, anything less. Well, he was that, and you held North Carolina to 67 points, and you still lost. So where do we go from here?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that was Otega of a year ago. I mean, even in that drought, he was still trying to, get to the basket and get some, lay-ins, those tough ones we've seen him. He was just getting fouled on a couple of those. That, I mean, he shot 6 free throws. I would bet 4 of those came right there. There was also one where he got his whole arm pulled and somehow they just let him play on. So we were at least like at moments kind of seeing what we wanted to see. But I'm going to continue to brag on Otega just for a minute because I do think that was the only positive. So before I, dive into the 19,000 negative things that I'm going to say for the next 45 minutes to an hour here, yeah, I've been super critical. We all have. We talked about how Otega pretty much said that the effort wasn't there by himself, and I think he came out and answer that bell. I mean, me and you text each other at the exact same time. He drives to the lane, makes a really nice pass to Malachi, comes down, gets a steal, gets out in transition, and then comes down and plays great defense the very next possession on Caleb Wilson, who just hits a incredible shot.
Which
And
he's insane, by the way. I know he didn't
yep,
play on this game. He's insane.
yeah, and me and you text each other instantly, and we're like, this is Otega. I think we both hit send at the exact same time. Like, this is what we've been waiting for. And I thought he continued that. I thought he played pretty well again in the second half. Like I said, when we were going through that scoring drought, he was getting to the free throw line. He was still attacking the basket. Everything else, I don't know. I don't have an answer for you. You have zero offensive cohesion in the half court. Maybe it gets a little better when Jalen Lowe comes back, but like I think you would probably agree. Like, I don't expect that to just be like the savior of this team that like puts us back into where we felt at the beginning of the year of like a Final Four contender. This team is so far away, and whether you have Jalen Lowe or not, there's way too much talent to have performances like we've seen in the 3 games that have mattered to this point.
Yeah, and I do kind of want to keep going on what you said with Otega because if I'm going to be as loud about the negativity on what I thought about Otega so far this year, I got to do the same thing with when it does go positive. I mean, 16 points in this game, 6 of 11 from the field, 4 rebounds. I think I'd like to see that ticked up a little bit more. I think when he gets those physical rebounds in traffic, that helps us, especially in a game like this where you actually kind of are outsized. I'd like to see him pull down some more of those. But I think this is that typical Otega stat line from last year that you look at it and you're like, I didn't even really notice it, but he had 16 points, walked out with 4 rebounds, and played good on the defensive side of the ball. So I'm hats off to Otega. I think you and I both agreed that preseason player of the year was a little bit too much for what we thought Otega Owe was. But I think this is the version of Otega that this Wildcats team needs. And honestly, you mentioned that they might need a little bit more because you mentioned how bad this half court offense looks. 8 assists.
Yeah,
Like
that's future.
that's incredible. Like I don't even usually on a Pope team like last year, I think most of the games you looked at, you saw like at minimum there was 13 assists, and that was a bad game. That was when a team was looking stale offensively. And the only thing is, like, I'm kind of at the point right now. I don't generally have an answer on whether I think this is a player-driven issue or if I think this is a scheme-driven issue. Because right now, nothing is suited to fit these guys or get these guys open looks. Like we started getting open looks there for a little bit in the first half. They weren't falling, and there just was no adjustment. It wasn't like we were getting downhill more. We weren't trying to get out in transition more. We weren't trying to crash the boards more to get them off the offensive glass. Right now, man, I think this is all systems failure. At first, I thought might have just been a player's issue, maybe just a roster construction issue, but I think this is from top to bottom, just all out collapse so far.
Yeah, I'll say like I'm I don't have an opinion one way or another about Pope overall to this point. Like I'm in no shape saying that he's going to be, an all-time coach here. When we look back at it, I'm also in no way saying like even if this season goes completely off the rails and you miss the tournament, you fire him after this season. But what I will say is he's coaching this team. He's not the right coach for this particular team. For this particular group of guys, like it's not working. And we'll see what he does after this season to try to get players that fit his system a little better. or and then we can go another year and really grade him in a hole. But like it's clear that this type of team is not set up to play his offense, and I don't know if who knows? I mean, he's got 3 months to make adjustments here, but like he's going to have to adjust to what this team's good at, and it's not trying to create and shoot a bunch of threes and play the same style that he played a year ago.
Yeah,
You don't have the ball handlers, you don't have the ball movement, you don't have good decision makers, really with the ball in their hands. Like, and then the shooting is, I mean, it blows my mind how bad Cam Williams is shooting the ball. I mean, this is a guy that we saw be a legitimate 3-point threat. I understand, again, it was at a level lower, but like it wasn't like he was playing in the MAC or the Horizon League. Like the Americans got good teams in it, and he found a way to shoot the ball. I mean, before we came on, we're talking about how Denzel just airballs almost every three he shoots, it feels like, but like I feel like Cam Williams at times is hitting 6 feet up on the backboard. So it's just all systems failure from everybody.
yeah, it really is. And Denzel added another two to that category. I mean, at least in this game, he did airball from mid range at some point too. So at least it's not just a 3-point line for Denzel. But it's something I kind of wanted to. You mentioned like a little bit with the roster construction. Like Pope is not the right coach for this team, and I'm trying to think like back to last year's team. Like there are three guys that I felt more comfortable with handling the ball in any situation than I do
Oh yeah.
Brea, Jackson, and Lamont. I felt infinitely more comfortable with all three of those guys handling the ball than anybody so far on this team. Obviously, excluding Jalen because we haven't been able to see enough of him. And that's just like I get Pope's trying to maybe even overcompensate for how out physical we got last year in the SEC. But dude, you took it 18 steps too far.
Yeah.
And now, and the bad thing is like you went to go out and get more physical, get a lot better defensively, and you didn't even necessarily do that. Like, genuinely, your best defensive player right now is probably Andrea Jelovic. And that's a guy who, coming into the season, most people's thoughts on that were, oh, great offensive threat, just not a defender. And he probably
Yeah.
played the best defense on Caleb Wilson that I've seen. And I'm getting to this a little bit later. I was going to ask you, like, don't get me wrong. I think Cam Williams offers you a lot right now. He's doing everything except for getting that 3-point shot to fall. But when you're talking about if you need a bucket on this team right now, even if you count Otega, I mean, my next guy is going to be Andrea Jelovic. You saw him get to those post moves, score 2 consecutive buckets. It kind of reminded me a little bit of Amari Williams there when he would take over a game for a couple possessions. You know, you couldn't find offense, and that was your go-to. Hey, threes aren't falling, shots aren't falling. We're not really getting anything good in the half court. Let's dump it down low, and we know we're at least going to get a good look. But when is Pope going to let him play like enough to let that impact the game? Right now, he's not doing that, and he's playing well defensively. He just went up against Caleb Wilson and gave him just about everything he can handle. The only thing that I haven't seen so far from Jelovic to get more minutes is probably just defensive rebounding at a little bit of a higher clip. But at the same time, Brandon Garrison's still playing. So what are we talking about here?
Yeah. I will say, like, this team actually isn't that bad defensively. It's that they can't finish a possession by grabbing a rebound and hopping off,
Yeah.
taking it the other way. I mean, North Carolina, went 26 of 64 from the floor. They shot 40%, and you just couldn't find a way to keep them off the glass when it mattered the most. They had 20 offensive rebounds. Like, it feels like, and then even at times, like, in the Michigan State game and Louisville game, like they would play a really good defensive possession at times, and it would be a rebound, an offensive rebound, or they would fall apart in the last 3 seconds of the shot clock, and somebody would hit a three. Like there's so much of that. So I do agree that this team got better defensively, but like the physicality and like honestly just effort, it looked like times the other night, like people weren't even jumping for rebounds. Like we were just sitting there watching North Carolina, 3 of their guys would jump up for a rebound.
We
I
don't
don't
need
know
to.
if,
We
yeah,
don't need.
they were like, what are we doing? And like, unless you're an elite, like somebody that can box out like extremely well, like Oscar Sheboy, like you got to leave your feet and go up and try to rebound if you're not going to get in the best position in the world. And we're just not doing it. And unfortunately, there's so many issues with this team. But like, I don't know if you paid attention too on the final shot of the game when Colin Chandler drives. The only person that crashed the board and even attempted to go for a rebound was Ortega, and he was coming from the top of the key. Yelovich, Moreno, and Denzel, all three stood there and watched the ball roll off the rim and fall right into the hands of Caleb Wilson. Like, that's the game's on the line. What do you have to lose? Everybody should have crashed the board. And I don't know. It's an effort thing, and it feels like there's just collapses at these little moments that just shouldn't happen. I mean, we shouldn't be talking about how you can't get up for a game at Louisville. You can't get up for a game at, a neutral site game in Madison Square Garden against Michigan State. We shouldn't be talking about you're down 2 with the game on the line and nobody's trying to go make a play and help out on the offensive glass. Like, it's just, I don't get it. I don't know what the answer is. There's a lot of issues, and unfortunately, I'm just really starting to feel like this team's just not a good team.
Yeah, and I mean, the thing is about being a good defensive team is good defensive teams end with that rebound. So you mentioned how we're getting better.
Yep.
We're getting better in that. I mean, again, 67 points in North Carolina. We mentioned how they weren't a high-scoring team anyways. But Caleb Wilson, who, you and I can talk about him just here for a second. Some of those shots he were making, granted, he missed a lot of them too. And those rebounds that he was grabbing, there was a clear athleticism difference between him and anybody else that was on the court. And that was, I mean, Jake, imagine him with this roster. I mean, everything that you need that we're talking about, Sky to be able to get offensive rebounds, stuff like that. I don't know if we'd be this negative yet. If we had a true freshman on our team scoring 20 and 10 a game, I think that would probably help a lot. And honestly, I kind of got sidetracked. I didn't know where I was going when I started that.
Well, I'll say real quick because I'm gonna hop back in. I think the point you were going to try to make is that you still gave up 67 to a bad offensive North Carolina team. But like, again, if you just cut those offensive rebounds even in half and hold them to 11 second half or second chance points, you win this game, and you probably win it kind of easily. It's just little moments here and there. I mean, because how many of those offensive rebounds were just offensive rebound, layup, nobody even there, or offensive rebound, kick out 3? Like, it's just, I do think this team has the makeup and capabilities to be good defensively, but it's not ever going to show for until they decide they want to rebound and fight for rebounds.
Yeah, and the only good thing I think I can say about that is hopefully with JQ on the rise coming back, that is something I think he's going to help us with a lot. I think that's probably the best thing that he can do is change shots and alter shots, and the ability to grab those defensive rebounds to end those possessions instead of allowing them to continue where you have to make another stop before you can get on the offensive side of the ball. And I mean, that's really the positive of what I'm kind of looking at right now,
where
because
your positivity stops.
Yeah, that's really where it's at. But like, I'm looking at potential answers and trying to find something, and it's just, I don't think any of these guards are good enough to be able to get us to the next level. Like, I can find a world in which I look at our 4 and 5 and I feel content that they can at least play at an adequate enough level to get us to, I don't even want to say just a tournament, because that might be too far of a, yes, I know.
I mean, right now, right now, like, you're not on pace to make the tournament at this point.
Yeah, trust me, I'm there. I'm just trying not to I'm trying not to have the skies falling, which it kind of is, but I'm trying to push back on that a little bit. I just don't think these guards are good enough to be playing 3 of them at a time. I really don't. Like, I know you and I have kind of disagreed on Denzel Aberdeen, what he means to this team. I don't see what he's providing you at this moment right now. I get he's your primary ball handler at this point in time, but we're not using him we're not using him to get the offense set up and get the offense going anyway. So at that point, you might as well try and run big or try something, because you've seen Denzel running at the 1 is not going to help this team.
Yeah, I do think Denzel would have been the perfect 6th, 7th man off on this team, or on
championship team,
or on a team with Walter Clayton. You come in and you know.
Yeah.
So I do think and maybe it's just one of those scenarios where it's another situation where, like we talked a lot last year, like you're just putting the guy in an unfair spot to him, and part of that is the injuries, but also part of it is the roster construction. You didn't go out and have, a true backup point guard, a true ball handling point guard. Maybe you thought coming into the year it could be Jasper. It's pretty clear that he's not ready for that role. And then so you have Denzel playing this. I would say the one glimmer of hope, and this is like a ton because you need like three different things to all go right for it to pan out, is Jalen Lowe, right? You need him to be really good, one, a better decision maker at times than he was at Pitt, two, and then three, you need a shoulder to not get re-aggravated. And that's like legitimately the only positive case I can say where I can like see some of these issues getting fixed. It was funny because in the first half when we were winning, and this is what I thought I was going to talk about after, like, I kind of thought for most of the game Kentucky was going to win. I just thought we would be on here talking about, man, that was an ugly, ugly performance, but we got out of there with a win. Here's to hoping Gonzaga's better. And I was going to come on here and talk about how I thought, like, this team really missed Mo Diabate. That's what I said before the game. And then they played really well, I thought, against Caleb Wilson with the pieces you had and held him in check. And I was going to come on here and be like, no, the biggest thing you're missing is still Jalen Lowe, because it was evident from the first few minutes of this game. The second they got past half court, Hubert Davis, who I don't even think is a good coach, made the decision to go out there and just double off of everything. Right in the, we were getting doubled 2 feet away from half court, and that's where our offense was starting. And like, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I do think at times it looks a little better when you give the ball to Malachi at the top of the key and have some guys cutting, but like that can't be your whole offense that you're hoping to get in that position every trip down the floor.
Yeah, and it seems like we keep having these same conversations week in, week out. Really, nothing's changed. I mean, good news is Jalen's supposed to be practicing 5-on-5 today, full contact.
He was a full participant in practice today for Jack Pilgrim.
See, so I mean, there's good news, but I mean, if I can also, as soon as I'm gonna give you the good news, Jake, I got a little bad news. I don't think that's changing anything with this team. At this point in time, because unless Jalen comes back and he ends up being like a 37% 3-point shooter, which I don't think I see with the current spacing that's on this team, I just don't think it changes that much. Like, I genuinely think the thing this team needs the most, granted, obviously a playmaker at the one, and I think that's what Jalen is, so getting him back is a welcome addition. But you still need, and the thing is, it's not even just one guy to step up to start hitting threes. You literally need 2 or 3 to start stepping up and actually hitting threes at a high clip. And I don't know who that's coming from, because first off, I'm going to say I don't know if it was just because of the Rupp Arena camera angle, but we started getting back to the Colin Chandler moon balls on Tuesday. I'm talking about the ones that hit the rafters in Rupp Arena, and they really weren't close. I'm kind of scared that we've changed that shot arc for whatever reason, because that's what it looked like at the beginning of last season, like games against Arkansas where he put up a couple, or early games like that at season where you just like looked up and you were about to fair catch it because you didn't know where it was going. I'm a little concerned that his 3-point shooting is going to fall back down. And as you saw with the way UNC defended him, like, people understand right now he's the only shooting threat that's on this team. So he's getting attention a lot more than I think he expects, and those open threes are happening a little less and less.
Yeah. Well, and that you hit it right there. It's also the fact of, like, I love Colin Chandler. I think he's taken a huge step, and I think he can be a really, really good player here. But it's another guy that you're asking kind of to play out of your role. You're asking him when the shot clock breaks down and you have zero offense to go grab a bucket. Like, that's not his strength. He's not a good enough one-on-one offensive player to go do that. His role is to attack on cuts, attack on occasional drives when a man's late rotating over and getting to the rim, or knocking down an open three. Like, he's absolutely perfect in that, and he's perfect for a role where he can be your third best option offensively, or two or three best players offensively. I don't think he can be your guy. Like, when we really saw him play really well last year, he was out there with all the shooters. They were moving the ball around. And the times he would drive, like I said, it would be a man was rotating over late because they were trying to help close out on a three, and he had a step on him and could just, if he gets a step on you, he's getting to the rim. But right now, they don't have to leave him. There's zero reason to play off of him in any way, shape, or form, and they just pretty much say you're not going to get that step on us. And we're not hitting guys when they're cutting at the right times. I mean, there's a lot wrong with this team.
Yeah, and I think you can almost extend that to everybody on this roster. They're not just going to let them get the step on there. I mean, this would be like the perfect team to play like just a 2-3 zone. Just like sit there and just let them sit up, throw up brick after brick.
I mean, I want to say, like, I'm surprised teams haven't, but you know what? Like, when you can't score against man, why
change it? It ain't broke, don't fix it. But
does this not did this game just not remind you of the perfect Cal game? Like, I thought we were over these. This was a Calipari North Carolina game.
At least with like Cal, you looked at like an athlete for maybe put back in that situation, like you mentioned, like we had nobody crashing the glass. I really don't. I think this is like the worst of. I think you genuinely gave Mark Pope a Calipari roster. Like we asked how much you would have
superstars. The rosters where Cal like missed the tournament or were one and done because you don't have the
And that's my point. We mentioned how many times we mentioned last year how cool would it have been to see Pope coach Reed, Reeves, and Dillingham. Like I think that's kind of where we're at. I think this is more of a Coach Cal built team than it is a Mark Pope team, and that's not like a slight on Pope. It's just I think it's just kind of facts. I don't really see. I mean, just the roster construction is still where I come back to.
That's bad.
Like you look at it, I like Trent Noah. I like the story. This guy, he's got to start hitting shots, and I keep mentioning it, and then he comes out in a game against St. Mary's School of the Blind and Hopeless, and he hits 4, and then everybody's in my comments saying, "Oh, look, he's hitting threes. He's hitting threes." Yeah, he's hitting threes against Tennessee Tech. Okay, that's one thing. We need him to show up in a game against North Carolina. And then, I mean, is Jasper Cook
real quick before we move on to Jasper, can I make one point about Trent?
Let's hear it.
If it wasn't for him getting fouled, he would have had yet another. I mean, how many times do we talk about? He did it twice last year where he had games where he goes out and does not record a stat.
Yeah, that was the Ansley. Well, he did that twice too.
And we said this year, there was a game or two this year where I said if he didn't grab that one rebound, he would have done it again. This game, he got fouled and was able to make 2 free throws to avoid going out there and playing 13 minutes of all cardio. But I'll let you get on Jasper now.
It's the classic Tony Snell game. He's giving you the Tony Snell minutes, except not good defense. But yeah, I'm kind of like, what are they seeing from Jasper in practice that he's only getting 5 minutes when you need a true point guard to come out there? And even if it's not a true point guard, you just need guards to score.
Yeah.
Like, what are they seeing in practice on the daily that Jasper only gets 5 minutes in this game? Because we talked about it all offseason. Like, you watch him at OTE and you think he might not be able to stay on the defensive side of the ball. He might not be able to give you what you need there. But he can get hot like a microwave, and then he can just he can keep it going and then create offense for others. Is this not the prototypical game where you think you would want to see a little bit more of that? Maybe give that chance a little bit, because it's not like the guards were killing us. From a defensive perspective, it's not like that was our problem. But I don't know. I mean, I've also been super disappointed with what Jasper's done this year, so I'm not petitioning for a lot more playing time. But I'm also at what point, you got a freshman here versus a senior guard that airballs every other shot that he attempts. At some point you got to start to build towards the future. I mean, I don't know. It sucks. The future. We're in December.
Yeah. No, I mean, I get it. Like, I understand your argument, and I'm not even saying I disagree with you. I think what Pope would argue is, like, what did you see from Jasper in that 6 minutes that indicated that, he should keep going? And I get it, but, like, there's so many guys on this team. That's the thing I feel like we've talked about. Like, I don't even know, like, what the lineup you put out there that would, like, give you your best chance. Because, like, you mentioned, like, you don't think you can play these 3 guards together. Like, you'd probably argue that, like, those 3 guards are still 3 of your best 6 players on the team currently, of the roster you have right now.
you and we differ a lot on what Denzel gives this team at the moment. Right now, I think you mentioned it. Like he's a great sixth or seventh person to
But if
have
you
on the
don't
team.
have Denzel, like who's playing point? Like let's just say, like you wanted to play.
Yeah, I'm honestly at the point like right now where we started to do this at the end of last year is where you just don't really have a point guard. Because we're really not getting pressed in a way like you mentioned how they're forcing us out to half court when we're doing those screens when we get into that. Denzel's not getting you out of any of those.
Sure.
So the benefit of having that true point guard kind of is erased right there. Because if you had Jalen, maybe he slips a couple of those screens, maybe he finds an open guy on a backdoor cut. Right now, Denzel can't pass out of that situation and he can't dribble out of that situation. So I just don't see the benefit he's giving you at the one. I'd at least rather ride the unknown in Jasper and let's see if he have a little something, especially enough. Like, don't get me wrong. In this game, Jasper was not good. 6 minutes, 1 of 4, 2 points, and a turnover.
Yeah.
But I mean, Denzel played 35 minutes, 4 of 13, 10 points. He was 4-1 in the assist to turnover ratio. I mean, that's all you're talking about. A guy who is consistently handling the ball for 35 minutes to only have 4 assists. I don't know. I think you and I disagree on what Denzel can be. I think Denzel was brought in here to potentially be like to be a starter in case Colin Chandler didn't take that jump, and then Colin did take the jump, but he didn't have anybody else to come in. I don't know. That's just where I am with Denzel. I think I'm a lot lower on him than consensus.
Yeah, I mean, you make good points. It's hard to argue, especially with what we've seen. But I guess like the problem, like we've talked about, there is no answer. You can make a easy argument as to each one of these guys almost as to why they shouldn't play as much as they do, and with
Yep.
just about every rotation. So I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. Again, hopefully things get a little better when you get Jalen Lowe back. But again, I just think you're asking for a lot, especially just injury wise. You're asking that he goes an entire season without falling on that shoulder or getting bumped on a screen on that shoulder in the wrong way. And I just think that's, I mean, you saw it last year with Lamont. Like, how many times would he like come back in? He's playing really well. He did it in the Tennessee game early when we were together watching it. And I told you he was going to eat Ziegler's cookies, and he did. I'll throw that back out there. And then he just takes one little bump to it, and he can't move his arm above his, shoulder for 3 weeks after that. And like, I just think you're putting a lot into potentially a guy to try to help make this team better. And unfortunately, like he's one little bump away from being right back to sideline for 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah, and hopefully, I mean, if he does play in this game, I'm
knock
sure.
on wood. I got a wooden chair. Knock on wood. It doesn't happen. But
I mean, if he does play in this game, it's probably going to be off the bench, kind of just like he did in that Louisville game, where he just comes in and gives you some spurt minutes. But the thing that I think I'm kind of frustrated with more is like I have a little bit more confidence in the bigs that we run out there, like including obviously Yelovich, what you've seen from Malachi, even like the 8 minutes that you're getting from Brandon Garrison. I'm not a huge fan of what BG does, but I mean, kids show. I almost said something else. You're only 3 in this game. He still does have that ability to space the floor a little bit. Now, granted, are you wanting him to take a lot of them? No. But for that exact reason, you do want him to shoot him while he's open. And then Cam Williams running as the 4. I think he needs to get a little more physical to play that 4. But I'm at the point now, I think I kind of want to see a big lineup. I think I've seen enough from running our like 3 guard set that we run with Colin, Ortega, and Denzel. I think personally, I'd rather see us try and go big. Maybe the reason Cam Williams isn't finding his success offensively right now is because he's playing out of position. He played a lot more of the 3 at Tulane rather than the 4. Right now he's being pressed into playing the 4. He's got bigger guys defending them, getting a hand in his face probably more than he's used to. Used to having that size advantage as a 3. Right now at the 4, he doesn't have that size advantage. I think that might be something that can free him up. Put Yelovich out there, allow him to actually play more of that offensive role rather than coming in being that defender while you have Malachi. I mean, just you got to tinker with something. Right now, you're doing no tinkering with the lineups at all. You're just kind of just throwing stuff out there and nothing's working. I mean, let's try and go big. Let's see if because the thing is, the crazy part is you say go big and you think, oh, we're going to get worse shooting. No, you actually
there
get
is no worse shooting right now.
Exactly. So I mean,
What?
I think if I was Pope, I think that's something I would try. I'm not saying I'd stick to that religiously, but try and run something where you got Ortega, Colin, Cam, Yelly, and Malachi all at once. Like, see what that lineup can do because you got two good defenders out there, especially if Ortega's actually locked in and ready to go. I think if, especially against Gonzaga, I think that team and that little roster could actually do a little bit something for you.
Yeah. What do you think? Like, do you think the shooting can get better? Because like on
I
paper,
can
like they're
think
like
it can because I
on
you have
yeah.
downside of both Yelovich and Cam Williams, and I don't think either one are as bad as shooters as they have.
Well, yeah, and well, I just meant like the team in general because like on paper, like I know like this obviously isn't anywhere near it was a year ago, but like Cam Williams should be able to shoot. Yelovich, all we heard is how he made shots overseas. Trent Noah can't buy a bucket. Colin Chandler at times shoots well. At he should continue to shoot well. But like, do you think this team like by the end of the year we're talking about them as a better shooting team, or is this just kind of what it's going to be?
I definitely think it'll be better just because you just went 1 of 13, so I'm not sure how much worse it can get just from that aspect. But like, I think even Ortega, I think, is a better shooter when he's put up and set up in the right system. I think Ortega can actually shoot a little. I think the shot actually looks a little bit better from three
Yeah,
so far this year. I mean, it's still got that hitch, but it's not as big, as noticeable. Denzel, I genuinely don't know what to expect. I kind of expect him to do the same thing where he's going to knock down two straight and then airball three more in a row.
yeah,
So like that's kind of what I expect from him. I think Colin will actually start to trend down a little bit, but that's also because he started 52% through his first 6 games.
yeah. It's hard to keep up that clip.
I think Cam will really start to heat up. Not like nothing crazy, but I mean, I really just think he's got to get a game in a big moment, and I think he's got to feel comfortable on the floor. Like, I think he's comfortable in his shot and confident in his shot. I don't think he's comfortable in the spot that he is right now. And personally, I think that's him playing the four and not playing the three. Maybe switching that gets him set up. I think Yelovich will shoot a lot better. I mean, BG, I think that is what it is. Trent Noah, dude, that one's on you guys. I'm gonna stick out
Yeah.
of that one. I feel like I'm always on Trent's case, and I don't want to be because I hope the kid plays well. But yeah,
No,
I mean,
I'll say
I don't see the team getting worse shooting. I actually think they'll get better. I don't think it's going to be enough to make the ceiling of this team go any higher, though.
yeah, I will say so that you're not the only one kind of getting on Trent Noah. I'll put my name in that hat as well. And I
Thank
don't
you,
mean it.
thank you. It sucks
I
being out here by
yeah,
myself.
and I don't mean it to be mean. Like I gave him a lot of. It's been a horrific year, right? The first few games I kind of gave him a little bit of grace of we don't really know how bad the ankle was rolled. Like he's trying to ramp back up to speed, yada yada yada. But like he legitimately brings you nothing. And there were games where he did it last year. We talked about it. Like, you mentioned Amsley. There was the game him and Ansley both did the thing where they played over 10 minutes and didn't record a single stat. Like Trent has flirted with that again this season. Like he is legitimately bringing nothing to the floor right now. And I don't mean that to be rude to the kid. I understand he's a fan favorite being from Kentucky and playing here, but like just right now, he is a just negative on the floor, and there's no other way to say it. It's a net negative and a positive for the other team when he's out there right now. And hopefully he can have some more flashes like he had a year ago in those Tennessee games and a handful of others. But I mean, that's just what it is right now. He is not contributing really in any level to help this team win, especially in high level games.
Yeah, I think the thing, like specifically with Trent, because like even you look at the like season numbers, and he's actually shooting like 46% from three.
Yeah,
Granted, that
but
was 4 or 5 from Tennessee Tech. A
correct.
lot of that helped a lot of it too. But I mean, you just like look at when Trent's on the floor, like he genuinely, like he realistically has to be like that 40% 3 point shooter. And I'm not talking about, oh, one game he goes off and the next five he can't buy a bucket from outside. Like you need him to be that consistent, like he's knocking down
He
two
has
to
to.
three, 2 to 3 threes a game to be on the floor. Because right now he's what, a 6'5", undersized, like power forward.
Three,
Like I
three,
really don't even.
four.
Like, yeah, I don't even know what position to call him. He's not a guard. He's nowhere near quick enough, but he's not. He's obviously not really even a four. So you put him at like a undersized, like
I mean,
I don't
you
know.
want to think about the craziest part of this game? He started the Purdue game. Like coming
Totally.
into the year, he was essentially with Lowe out going to be a starter, and then he got hurt, and since then he's given you nothing. But like he was like, should we have seen more of the red flags right then and there? I think we were all just so blinded by the fact you killed Purdue, and I guess we thought he was going to take this huge leap. But like coming into the year with one injury, excuse me, we were talking about Trent was going to be a starter on this basketball team.
Yeah, it's yeah, it's I mean it's wild thinking. Bad the bad thing is like you look at just the overall statistics for this team, like shooting the ball, and it doesn't look that bad because it's bevied by playing a lot of bad teams. So
But
I
then
wish
you
I had
watch them airball and everything else.
I wish I had done it before we had started recording here, but just looked at the 3 games where we actually had to play legitimate competition. Because
It's
right
not
now
good.
you've got 2 guys that are shooting over 36% from three, and that's Colin and technically Trent Noah, which we mentioned was bevied by that Tennessee Tech game. And then outside of that, dude, you go to Jasper Johnson at 35%, and then Denzel Aberdeen at 35% as well. And it's just like, dude, who do you? At that point, I mean, why are you not getting Jasper on the floor? I mean, you might as well. At that point, he's your third best shooter. Like, what do we?
I mean,
I
just
don't know
think
the.
about what you've shot from three in your, quote unquote big games: Louisville, Michigan State, and North Carolina. 1 of 13 against North Carolina. You went what 4 of 15 against Michigan State, and then I'm pulling up what they shoot against Louisville because it wasn't good either.
No, it was
Seven of
Louisville.
or no, I'm sorry, 6 of 16 against
Yeah,
Louisville.
that's a little better. Yeah,
So, but like, still, just think about that. You're only shooting 16, and that's in part because these teams aren't letting you get those shots. I told you how happy I was after Tennessee Tech that we just took 33s. I wasn't even really worried about what percent we shot. I was like, we finally kind of saw what Pope was talking about. We're going to, shoot 33s. You've shot 16, 15, and 13 in your 3 marquee games. And don't get me wrong, Tuesday night I was not screaming at them to shoot more after watching no one really even coming close to making one outside of the first one Cam Williams shot. But like it just I don't know. I think it's just a bigger offensive issue is that you can't create them. And of those 13 Tuesday night, like quite a bit of them were pretty open. Colin, I think, kind of.
they of them were like just good open
I
looks.
I think I think probably the worst 2 you shot were the 2 Colin shot. He kind of rushed them for whatever reason. It felt like a couple times, but I don't know, man. I really don't. Unfortunately I feel like I've said I don't know 107 times just this episode, and I think we're gonna be saying it for a lot of the season, and I just need something good in my life for sports, man. I really do. I was thinking about it the other day. Like I just the Reds. It was not.
And
It
the play
wasn't. It
was
was
short-lived
yeah.
there.
But and then I got excited for the Bengals, and Burrow gets hurt 2 games in, and then I start to talk myself into football, and they're bad, and then all of a sudden I'm like, well, now we got basketball, and then basketball's struggling, but hey, football's 5-5. We might be on the upswing.
I
And
got,
then,
I got, I got a sport for you. It's Kentucky volleyball. I mean, if you know
yeah,
you want a winner,
are we
there.
watching? Are we watching that tomorrow night over the Gonzaga game?
I mean,
Because
they still got to finish their win off. They're playing right now, so I mean, they still got to finish that
it's true.
off. So they got to finish that before they can get to tomorrow.
Can you
Because
give me
Jake,
an update? Because I have not checked. What
Jake,
we got?
you don't want to look forward. It's one thing I think Coach Calipari taught us well. You don't look past these opening round
So are you
games.
telling me they're losing right now, or what's the?
I'm not telling you that. I'm not telling you that. I'm going to let you do your own digging there. But I
Okay,
kind of just
so maybe volleyball's over after tonight too. I don't know.
if they're your favorite team, they're probably over, knowing the luck that we have. But Jake, we're going down to Bridgestone Arena, a place
Yeah,
that has not been kind to us over the past couple of years, facing Gonzaga, who until what maybe this time last week looked like probably the best team in the country, and
they
then they
got
take a 40-point
ran.
loss to Michigan. What are we thinking about this Gonzaga team? Because up until
I
then, they had good wins. They obviously beat Alabama, who we think is going to be a very good team, beat Maryland in that Players Era tournament, and then just turn around and get absolutely throttled by Michigan.
yeah, I don't. I honestly don't know, man. Like, it's just everything about this whole college basketball season. I feel like it's just been weird.
Weird.
Outside of Duke and Michigan, like nobody's looked really good for every game they played. I was stunned by that Gonzaga Michigan game. And Michigan, I know they beat every single team they played in that Players Era, whatever, by 1,000. But
Yeah.
yeah, I thought Gonzaga was one of the two best teams in the country, and then yeah, you mentioned it, they lose by 40. I don't know what to think of tomorrow night. Gonzaga's only a 3.5-point favorite. Theoretically, like Vegas is telling you, this should be a pretty close and good game. I almost kind of see it playing similar to this Carolina game. I think their bigs will grab a lot of rebounds to give them second chances that ultimately I just think will kind of kill us. I think we'll have spurts where we don't play well offensively. We'll play just good enough to kind of stay in it. And then Gonzaga's rebounding ability, I think, will drag them to the finish line. I don't really expect us to like get blown out like we did against Michigan State. I told you guys, like, maybe we actually kind of stack up better against teams with bigs just because their guards aren't going to get out and absolutely destroy us for 40 minutes. So I honestly think it's going to play out very similar to what we saw Tuesday night.
Yeah, the last thing you can allow is, first off, Jake, is Graham Ike or Ike,
Ike,
is he
yeah.
getting up into the Zakai Ziegler range for you of just like, dude, how's this guy still playing in college basketball?
I mean, it's not just because at least like Ziegler, there were games he played really bad against Kentucky. Like this guy has just absolutely owned us in even last year when we beat him, he was absolutely dominant. So
Yeah, so I mean, you can go ahead and probably lock him up for 20 and 10 in this game. But the last thing I
oh
think
yeah,
this team can do, you mentioned, is
they have
get
two
beat
good
on.
bigs. That other one's really good too.
They do. The last thing they can do is get beat on the glass, and especially that Saint Superi. I mean, he's shooting like 40% from three so far this season. So I can already kind of see and envision a world in which Ike's down there getting a offensive rebound, kicking it out to him, and that's kind of how those possessions continue to linger on. And ultimately, it feels like we play like a solid defensive game. But the weird thing about this Gonzaga team is like you look at their team's 3-point shooting in general,
They're
they're
struggling.
not a very good 3-point shooting team, shooting 32% from three. That all being said, their games so far this year, I mean, outside of the Michigan game, they put up 100, 95, 122, 90, 83, 98, 111, 111. So, like, how are they scoring this many points with shooting that poorly from the three? Like, I genuinely don't understand it. Like, I don't know what Mark Few's cooking down there in which they're scoring that many points. But one thing I wanted to say was you mentioned how weird this college basketball season's been. Like, you got Cal almost lose. Who do you almost lose to? What was it last week or week and a
Oh,
half ago?
Samford, and then
I can't.
who was the other? Was it Watford? I think it might have been Watford. That
Yeah, Wofford.
yeah.
They, they almost lost to them. Then they beat Louisville, and then same thing with this like Gonzaga tree. They lose by 40 to Michigan. Michigan lost to UC in an exhibition, and UC sucks.
They're
UC's
not
horrible.
good. I
Like,
know. They just lost to Eastern Michigan
saying,
at
like, I don't
home.
like
It's just
I
weird.
don't understand like what's going on with this
It,
college basketball season. And you got the crosstown shootout this weekend, Jake. I haven't heard a thing about it. Yeah, UC Xavier. That'll be a
I, I heard
crapshoot.
just some of the UC accounts I follow that, well, I follow more so for Reds and Bengals or whatever, but they're not looking forward to that game. And even though that they should be the
They're
better
terrible.
team, like Xavier's
Yeah,
not a very, I mean, Richard Pitino in his first season there, like they're still obviously trying to figure it out. And UC fans have zero confidence. The best part was I did hear Kirk Kriisa talk about the rivalry, and he acted like he
I
like.
still love Kerr so much. I
I
miss that guy so much.
I will say like he could have been pretty beneficial for this team this year as a backup point guard. So I don't think any of us were like super upset when he left, but looking back, maybe we should have been.
I mean, maybe we just need to like go into an offseason where we're like, hey, I know we have 3 capable point guards. Maybe three is the match.
Yeah.
You
And
just can't go
Kerr,
in.
I'll tell you what wouldn't be happening with Kerr. He would be screaming out there if he was watching people just stand around and watch the ball at times.
Oh, I mean, this is a guy who got back on defense with a broken foot.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
No.
we don't have any of that right now, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, that's where we're at, Jake. So
you ready for some scores? We ready to?
In Nashville, a place that has not been kind to us. Obviously, our football team just took a beating down there about 2.5 weeks ago. Now we're back down there in Bridgestone Arena. Jake, I was told you're not allowed within 60 miles of Nashville. So
was that a Miss Kate decision?
that was definitely a Miss Kate decision. What do you got? What do you think for this Gonzaga game? First off, before you give your score prediction, just paint me a picture of how Kentucky comes out of this win, and you actually think, all right, there was some reasons for momentum, some reasons for positivity going forward.
I don't even know if it would like necessarily make you feel positive going forward. I think the path to kind of win is just going to be you're going to have one of those Ortega performances, right? So maybe similar to Tuesday night, but down the stretch you don't really take the ball out of his hand and he just kind of continues to put his head down and get to the rim. I truly believe that's going to be the only way. You got to slow him down on the glass. It's obviously not something I expect to happen after what we watched Tuesday night. But if you can if you just limited North Carolina to 11 or 12 offensive rebounds, you probably win that game. And that's still an absurd number. Like, that's still a lot. But, yeah, I don't know. I don't feel too confident in it. Maybe that's what I've needed because I've picked us to win all these games and felt like last year, every time I said, like, I have zero confidence, Kentucky came out and got a win. So, like, maybe that's just what we need here. But I think similar to Tuesday night, maybe a little more scoring. I'll say 75-68 Gonzaga.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot more points scored on the board in this one. I genuinely think this Kentucky defensive like resurgence that you've seen has kind of just been fool's gold. Like you saw at times where Tennessee Tech got whatever shots they wanted, and North Carolina got shots that they wanted. They just weren't hitting them either. So I'm going to be negative with you, pal, except I think I might be taking mine to another extent. I'm going to say this ends up being quite a lopsided game, but I do want to paint you the rosy picture of how this game does win, how we do win this game. Somebody's got to take on Graham. We know this. We know what he's done to this Kentucky team. He's a great passer.
Are you about to tell me Yelly?
Who else?
I'm starting to understand Cam Johnson the more we do this.
Who else? I mean, you looked at him play defense against Caleb Wilson. Who played better defense on him than that game? Nobody did. And if you just need a big Yelly game, I really think that's what it is. You need him to, first off, you need to allow him to play more than he is right now. And then you just need to win those matchups against the bigs. Like right now, I think Malachi is doing more than I think you and I could have ever envisioned for his first however many games so far in the season. But he's still not all the way there defensively. Like that last layup we gave with him and Denzel in the screen coverage against North Carolina, like what are we doing there? Like
we're still so bad at pick and roll defense.
What were we doing in that? So I'm hoping I really think that's just what it is. I think you have to have a defensive performance. And I think that's what Coach Pope built this team for. He built them to win from defense and without shooting. So I think if they're going to win this game, I think it does have to be something like you mentioned. That has to be a game like in the 70s. I think if this game gets into the 80s, I think Kentucky loses.
I do got to say, I'm gonna make one more point. We were talking about Denzel and our, I guess, different levels of kind of what we think he can be. And don't get me wrong, I don't think he's the savior. My biggest complaint with him right now is the constant. It feels like he's yelling or bitching and complaining about somebody else on the floor.
Yeah.
There's not, like, and that's what I want to say. Like, dude, you're a senior. You were brought here to be a leader of the team, and it's constant, just hands up. He did it to Malachi. It felt like a multitude of times Tuesday night, and maybe I don't know, maybe some of them were his fault, maybe a lot of them were Malachi's fault or whoever else's fault, but it just feels like every time it's a hand up and like yelling on the floor and
A hand
for
up of accountability, a hand up of bitching.
yes, correct. And like it's as the senior, you're supposed to be the guy that kind of takes that, right? Like I'll give Ortega another piece of you know positivity that I saw after the game. He came out, made no excuses, and said like us guards, myself included, need to go out and rebound better. And Ortega was by far the best rebounder of that group, and he was the only one even trying. So we've been critical of what Ortega's done in press conferences after games so far. That's I think another one where we got to kind of admit when he does something right. But Denzel, I'm seeing zero of the leadership that you kind of brought him here to be. And again, I'm watching 100 miles away in my living room on a TV. Maybe I'm reading it wrong or getting bad angles, but it just looks like constant complaining about somebody else on the floor not doing something they're supposed to when, man, you've made a lot of mistakes. I mean, could you imagine if every time he shoots an air ball, if Malachi just throws his hands up and,
I know I do.
complains? Like that's the point. Like you're nowhere near perfect, and it just you can't have it. And when you hear guys like Travis Ford talk about how this team has zero chemistry on the court, I think a lot of it stems to that. These guys legitimately look like they do not like each other, and I think it starts with your senior guard. I know it's his first year in Lexington, but you are a senior guard that is supposed to you were brought in to be the exact opposite of that.
Yeah, and well, I mean, I think a lot of the guys that you were expecting to be leaders outside of Ortega turning that corner now, I don't think any of them have been. Like, I don't think
No,
Mo Diabate's been a leader by any means. Yeah, don't get me wrong. Right now, he's injured, but I don't see him on the side. Like, the only one I see like actively on the sidelines, like coaching and doing
Jalen
stuff like
Lowe.
is Jalen. Like Jalen yelled at Jasper so much from the sideline, like just trying to get his attention, trying to get him in the right spot, coaching him what to look at, coming off of screens. Like that's the only person I look at on the bench, and I'm like, oh man, he's actually trying to coach, his teammates to get better, to take this team to another level. Everybody else, it seems, is just like pointing fingers and doing stuff like that to just get the accountability off of their shoulders. And I think a lot of that is from Denzel as well, kind of like you mentioned, especially he can't be the one to be doing that when you shoot 3 air balls a game and you go 4-13 from the field. But
Well, you
Jake,
just like you need like a Lamont Butler or somebody that can obviously his play style, but also just the leadership capabilities and
I think you need a lot
or
of.
an
I think
Amari, yeah, or an Amari, like
you need one
yeah,
that leads on the floor, and then you need one who leads like in a huddle. Because right now
yes,
you don't have either. Because if I
correct,
can be honest, like the only time I see anybody bringing somebody together on the basketball court right now, it's Malachi Moreno. Like before,
yeah,
like a free throw or something like that, calling everybody in, or even like before a timeout. That should not be happening from your freshman center. He should not be the one that has to be like the vocal leader out there on the court. Because right now we don't have it, and that's a lot of reason. I'm gonna give you my prediction now, Jake. A lot of the reason I just think this Gonzaga team is probably gonna. And now, granted, you and I know this. As soon as you and I both pick against the team, they're gonna.
hopefully,
They're
fingers
hopefully,
crossed, man.
hopefully. But like I told you, I don't think there's a game in which this gets into the 80s and Kentucky wins. I think Kentucky scores 76 in this game. I think Gonzaga gets into the 90s. I think it's 92-76. I think this is actually going to be a pretty lopsided win, and those offensive rebounds and kickbacks out to shooters like Mario Saint. I can't remember his last name. I think it's Mario Saint Sumery or something like that.
Yeah,
Ends up being key into why Kentucky just can't get, Jake, we mentioned with the football team, you got to play complementary football. Basketball, you got to do the same thing. You force a bad shot, you need to get the offense, you need to get the defensive rebound and get on the offensive, get out in transition. And I think Cats are going to lose by a good amount in this one. Unfortunately, I think Gonzaga is just a lot better team. They're playing well right now. They need something to
I
come
could
back
see
from
it.
after that loss against Michigan.
No, I could see it. I wish I could give you a boost of confidence to try to make you feel better about tomorrow night, but I'm pretty much there with you.
All right.
So
Well, BB, and we are closing in on an hour with this episode, Jake. I think we were both thinking,
Is it
30,
September
45
26th
minutes.
yet? Or is it Stein time yet?
It's
Who would have imagined? Who would have thought?
Who would have thought Jacob Boyers be asking if it was football season in December? Never would have thought it.
Good.
Big Blue Nation, anything regarding the Kentucky football team with Will Stein being introduced. Jake, we obviously will talk about the coordinators that are being hired, who's staying, who's going. We'll have you there. And whatever this Kentucky basketball
real quick,
team.
Can I give you a little football
You mess
scoop?
up my outros every time, man.
I know. Real quick. I just saw, per Justin Rowland, Louisville's director of recruiting is likely to join Will Stein's staff. Pete Nurk something, I don't know. I forgot his name. I've already looked. But he's currently the director of recruiting at Louisville. So,
yeah, I mean, if I can be honest, Louisville's not recruiting too well in the states that Vince so evidently says he loves so much in Kentucky and Ohio.
Yeah.
So
Vince says we're not taking it from him. The little dog's lost his fastball, man. He's not near as good on Twitter as he was when he was.
I don't know if you've seen Vandy and what they're doing in the state of Kentucky. They're pulling a lot of the top recruits. I think Ohio State's still doing pretty well in the state of Ohio. So I don't think I think people have taken it from Vince.
Stein time, baby. Let's go.
Stein time. We will have you covered for Stein time and hopefully a hope for Pope. I mean, we got to get something going there, Jake. But this is the Cats Talk podcast. Follow us on X, on Instagram, on TikTok, and we're on YouTube, Spotify, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio. Any breaking news with the football team or the basketball team, pregame or postgame, the Cats Talk podcast will be here, and we'll have you covered. Until then, Big Blue Nation, go Big Blue.
Go Big Blue.